Hello and welcome back to Game Brigade. My name is Brian Greer. If you are new here, welcome to the show. Today we are going to be continuing our countdown of the top 50 games of all time, beginning from 2023. We are now in the section of 30 to 21. We are getting close to the top 20. Not there yet, but these are the games that just barely made the outside of the cut. They were nearly there in the top 20. All of these games are obviously great games. We're going to talk about why I like them and what they are. So starting off with number 30 is the Tech Tree game, I like to call it, and that is Beyond the Sun. Now I call this one a Tech Tree game because this game is all about advancing your faction along different types of tech trees as you progress through the commercial, the economic, military, and expansion versions of different technologies. It's a very lovely game. I encourage people to try it. It's very beginner friendly as well. I enjoyed the aspects of the resource management, collecting different types of resources and trading them for different types of actions. It's an incredibly rewarding game and gives a good sense of achievements as you move through the different types of technologies. Starting at 29, we have Lord of the Rings, the card game. Now this is the Saga expansion, but this is Lord of the Rings card game from Fantasy Fight Games, and this is a living card game. Lord of the Rings, the card game, has fallen for me on the list. This was a top 10 game for a while. In this game, you are going to be playing cards from your hand, using resources that are generated from your leaders. You're generally going to have a certain amount of leaders, like 3 leaders, that all generate a type of resource, and you're going to build the deck that has matching resources that you can then cast those spells. And you're going to be going on different types of quests based on the Lord of the Rings story. And these quests will have a treachery deck that's filled with a lot of things that you're going to have to overcome. They might have orcs and ogres and spiders and lands that you're going to have to move through. It's a very rewarding game, very challenging. It requires some expertise in understanding what kind of deck building you're going to do if you're going to be building your own decks. There's, of course, online resources for people to take advantage of that. The reason this has fallen for me is that the accessibility and the ease of play, this system, as it's one of the first that uses this type of system. Games like Marvel Champions or Arkham Horror lean heavily on the design that Lord of the Rings brought, but they are obviously a little more elegant in their design. This one is still a very good game, but it's a very challenging game and requires a lot of work. And there's several missions I've done now where, and I might not be the best player, who knows, but there are several missions where you do and you're like, this is just very difficult. And maybe sometimes they're impossible single. If I just want to play a single, one player, not do two-handed gameplay experience, it becomes very difficult. So while I still love the game, my collection in terms of purchasing it has reduced. I've kind of been more content with what I have. And I've seen my plays reduce a little bit over the last year, which is one of the reasons why I've seen this fall from my top 10 and landing itself here at 29. They have just released some more content for the game. Maybe I'll pick it up. Who knows? We'll see. The next one, and this guy's a heavy one. I should have probably just did the lid for this guy. This is Moonrakers. Specifically, this one is a Titan edition from IV Studios, coming in at number 28. Moonrakers was one of the first Kickstarters that got me back into backing games on Kickstarter and almost kind of helped begin this YouTube channel of mine. I watched this and I started doing coverage of YouTube of Kickstarter products, and Moonrakers was one of the first ones that I backed. And I fell in love with the design. I've also fallen in love with the company that designs this. IV Studio is very good at creating unique, inspiring products, and they're always trying to push the boundaries in terms of the quality of components and the uniqueness of their gameplay. So what's unique about Moonrakers and what is this game? Well, this is a deck building game where you're going to have to be building a deck from purchasing cards in an active row, which is like every other deck building game out there. But the reality of this game and the challenging part of it is the missions that you have to do to complete, to get the rewards, to get the income, to buy those cards. You are going to have a heck of a time doing them on your own. So you are going to have to negotiate with your opponents to have them come on to your missions with you to help complete it. Now, why would they do that? Well, they're going to want a reward, so you're going to have to barter and bargain and make some sort of negotiation deals with your opponents to trade them some of the rewards for the missions that you're completing. And it's a great, interesting aspect to have this negotiation style board game. Now, I get it, it's not for everyone, but I love the aspect that they've brought into this system, brought into the game, having people negotiate, kind of arguing against themselves. People are like, I'll go for a coin. I'll go for 2 coins. And someone's like, well, if he's going to go for 2 coins, I'll go for 1 coin. And so you as the owner of that mission who's going out, be like, well, that sounds good. I'll take you, and you're going to come with me. That way I don't have to give away 2 coins. It's a really cool system. I love it. Now, the Titan expansion here, the Titan edition offered several more expansions. One of them changed the negotiation process, making it a little bit more rewarding for people to want to go in negotiations. That was a complaint a lot of people had, where it was hard for them to get motivated to go in negotiations, which I didn't really understand, but I get it. So they had an expansion for that. There was also an expansion called Overload that just added a whole bunch of everything that you've already seen. And the final expansion, which was my favorite one, allowed you to go to different planets that were already kind of part of the game, but it kind of changed who could also go with you because they have to be in adjacency location. Also adding more stuff and more cards, and there's also bonus stuff in terms of expansions. I love Moonrakers. It's one of my favorite deck building games. Don't play it enough. Hope to get it to the table more often, but definitely one of the ones. Also, I highly rate this one for its ease of play and remembering of the rules. One of the things I forgot to mention at the top of this episode was how do I rate the games that go on this list. I've talked about it in the other 2 episodes. I would check that out as well. But I talk about one of the things in terms of my barometer of how I rank games is how easy is it to remember your game, the rules, is this something I have to dive into all the time to reread the rule book. And Moonrakers is a game I learned in 2020, and the rules were so easy to digest that they have carried forward. Yes, sometimes I have to open the rule book and just verify what kind of starting setup we have, but for the most part, I can explain the game right away to someone and get going with gameplay, which means this rates higher for me than other games which require that kind of rule book digging. Coming in at number 27, we have Eclipse Second Dawn for the Galaxy. Now, I would rate Eclipse, the original version, and Eclipse Second Dawn for the Galaxy very closely, but there are a lot of quality of life improvements that the reprint, the second edition, came along with dual layer player boards and basically a tile organizing system for all the technologies, which is a great investment. But the Eclipse first edition or the second edition both has the same engaging gameplay. Eclipse is a 4X game that is kind of similar to a game like Twilight Imperium, but it plays in about half the time, which is one of the main draws to this game. Being able to get the fulfilling aspects of a 4X while you're exploring the galaxy, moving out, colonizing planets, expanding your economy, building fleets out, is all seen here in Eclipse. So if you're looking for that spacefaring gameplay where you can have conquests and fights versus players and AI, this is it. The unique features for Eclipse that I really like is the fact as you expand, you have to take these little tokens from your player board and place them on planets to gain the resources that those planets get. But each time you're placing these cubes out onto different planets, it's going to expand the required income you're going to need, putting a lot of pressure on yourself and basically limiting the total growth that you have because you're going to have too many supply chains you're going to have to keep track of. I love that aspect. There's also a combination, or all the ships that people have, there can be some asymmetricalness a little bit with each faction, but it really gets asymmetrical as you begin to outfit each of your ships with different types of weapons and technologies and shields and movement and warp drives. You can customize fully your scout ships, your corvettes, your battleships, even your star bases. You can change all the types of equipment they have on them, the kind of dice they roll in combat. It gives you a big variety of things. Now, some people don't like that the randomization of this. There are sometimes ancient technologies you can find by drawing them from a random pool of cards, and that can give you sometimes a more advanced advantage than other people. But that's kind of the nature of the beast. It's something you have to deal with. The other thing I really enjoy is it does have territories as you explore that can be already popular or already owned by an AI ancient faction, which means you have to go and defeat that faction before you can colonize on those planets. Really cool system. I love every aspect of this game. It's not my Twilight Imperium killer in terms of which one I'd rather play, but I definitely appreciate what Eclipse brings to the table with its economic balance and its technologically balance as you expand through the galaxy. Here we have Viticulture from Stonemaier Games, and specifically when I talk about number 26 for Viticulture, it will mean it's also including the Tuscany expansion. Now, I have the Essential Edition. I also have the Moors expansion, the More Visitors, and the Tuscany all inside this box. I could play without some of the add-ons, but the Tuscany expansion really is going to make this game for me and what places this at the 26th location. Viticulture is a worker placement game where you are going to be taking over a vineyard of your parents, and you are going to work through different seasons to collect different types of vines and wines and crush them, eventually processing them into wine and selling them to the market. It's a really, really brilliant game. I love the changes that the Tuscany expansion changed, giving you more seasons and more actions to do, and just enriching the entire experience. It's very beginner friendly, enough that I will introduce this to kind of my beginner light gamers who are just kind of stepping their way into the board gaming realm. It gives them a sense of accomplishment and understanding, and Stonemaier Games has always done a very good job at that, at being my gateway gaming game for my friends. I love this theming as well. I had another game at one point that we tried to play to replace this one, but Viticulture has remained the dominant one in the wine making session. So that is Viticulture at 26. Number 25, we have Aeon's End from Indie Boards and Cards. Some people might recognize my video of my worst mistake, and I had other people tell me to just play this game and you'll enjoy it. And I will say Aeon's End is an enjoyable experience. I think the system is very brilliantly made, and I'm glad that I did give this one a good chance because it has found itself as a whole in my top 25. So Aeon's End is a deck building game in a sense. I like to say in a sense. It's very interesting the way that you are going to build out the 9 cards, I believe, that are part of your available pool. You're going to have to basically build out at the start of each encounter or fight you're going to do. You're going to build out some cards that are going to be part of this game's pool for you to purchase from. I love that there's a huge variety, and I think that's what makes this game so popular and good, is that you have a very vast variety of different types of artifacts and spells and mana cubes that you can kind of customize and place into your game to make the experience unique. The other unique part of this game is the order that you play your cards in matters, because as you play your cards and they go into your discard, when your draw pile ends and you played all your cards, your discard just flips over. So the order you played your cards in matters, because now I'm drawing from the top of my deck from the card that I discarded first. I think that's a really cool, unique experience, making sure that you have to think about the order you want to do things. It also will let you know a good idea of when things are going to come up, because you never shuffle this game. Now, I sleeved my entire copy. I had a lot of friends laugh at me because they're like, you don't shuffle the game, but I can't play a card game without sleeves. And that's no different here with Aeon's End. But I do love this game. We are working our way through the Legacy. I think we're on the final mission of the Legacy game right now. And once I complete that, we'll go through the next stages of these individual boxes before I get to the final Legacy, the last Legacy that was released. So that's Aeon's End by Indie Board and Games, coming in at number 25. Top 24, Company of Heroes, the board game, by Bad Crow Games. Now, Company of Heroes, the board game, is a take of the video game RTS game called Company of Heroes. If you've seen it, it's a wildly popular video game. This one really draws heavily from the Company of Heroes 2 IP with their leaders and the units that are found inside this game. And what I found that I liked about this game is it really emulates well of that RTS feeling of the video game to the board game setting. Players are going to take on one of the factions that are found in the game. There are two different types of German factions. You have the Wehrmacht and you have the Oberkommando West. You have the Russians, you have the British, and you have the Americans. So the German players will be on one faction. The Allies will be one of the three other factions. And it's a typical skirmish game where you're going to place your units on the board, move them around while you try to collect different types of objectives and hold different types of points for a set amount of time. Now, there are different types of scenarios you can play that as well. But what's great about this game is it's very much enrooted with the video game sense, where you're going to have different types of stages of your development. You have to collect resources to be able to move up to the next battle phase, where you can then call in different units or more powerful units. So you're going to start off with just like, say, a machine gun or a mortar and a couple of infantry, maybe a scout car, before I can get to a medium tank, and then maybe to a heavy tank like a Tiger or a Pershing tank. I love that aspect about this game. Now, I haven't played this as much as I want to recently, which has kind of driven it out of that top 20, which I think this would probably find itself in the top 15 in a normal sense of the matter. But there's a second edition coming, which when I played that online with the publisher as well as the designer of the second edition, I fell in love with the fixes that the game had. And I've kind of been like, okay, I want to wait till that second edition comes, because it really fixed a lot of the issues the game had, especially with movement and the building and the destruction and call-ins. It just made things a little bit more cleaner and smoother for an experience that I want to play. So while Company Heroes is still a brilliant system, and I think probably the best system I've seen for a skirmish game from an IP-based system like this one, I'm definitely kind of holding off on waiting till that second edition arrives, hopefully later this year, to really bring this one back. And I'll have some more gameplay footage, hopefully, when that arrives, so people can really experience this game with me. So yeah, I love this one. Probably a top 15 game in most sense of the cases, but because it has been played in the last 6 months to a year, it's fallen down to number 24. So there we have Company of Heroes at 24. Wingspan, also from Stonemaier Games. So Wingspan holds steady at number 23, mostly because of the ease of play this game has and how approachable it is for me to teach people who are new to gaming, who are interested in this hobby, a game that's charming, it's fun, and it's very approachable in most aspects of the way. This game is not a competitive game in terms of me harming you. There's no real take that mechanics that you can be found here, at least in the edition that I have. I have the standard edition as well as the European birds. I have not played with the Asia or the tropical birds, I believe it's what it's called. I haven't played with either of those. I only have the first two, the first expansion plus the base game. And I found that that was kind of a good fit for me in terms of enough unique experiences with the birds' abilities, as well as combinations that can be found through the purchasing of the different cards as you add them to your tableau and you build out your section. I also want to praise Stonemaier for, again, just making really, really good games for that middleweight section of gamers. It's not something that we play very often anymore in the collection because of the weight and the way my game group leans, but I still will lean on this very heavily. Like something like this, or like I said, Viticulture, are for those games and those gamers who are wanting to dip their toes into this hobby, and I want to show them kind of what this hobby can provide and the different types of experiences they can get. And that's why Stonemaier's Wingspan holds steady at 23. The next game I don't own in the collection, I'll be getting this very soon, hopefully from the Kickstarter that's going to be delivering, I'm hoping this year. But I've played this several times, and I played the prototype with the second edition, or the expansion pack, and that's Townsfolk Tussle. Townsfolk Tussle at 22 is a boss battler game, and I love boss battlers. It's one of my favorite mechanics. You select a hero, you're going to go against a boss who has some sort of specific mechanic, and you have to use your tools and the items available to defeat that boss. I love these types of games. They're some of my favorite mechanics. Like I said, other than like deck builders, I think boss battlers might be my favorite one out there. Townsfolk Tussle is the unique system because it basically lets players go back into the 1920s with some really unique art and kind of unique items and sets from that era. And you're going to go through a little mini campaign to defeat each boss as you get through all the different regions of that location. The thing that held this one back for me originally was it was a little long. 4 sessions was too long for me to get this to the table in a single night. It didn't work for game nights in most parts. With the new expansion that's releasing, they're doing a new rule of the 3 bosses, which you could have house ruled if you wanted to. But I appreciated that they listened and said, okay, yeah, we agree. It was a little long and kind of getting long in the tooth kind of thing. So we're going to shorten the amount of gameplay and add some more features and things for you to go against, as well as more bosses, which is just even more vanilla stuff for you to play with. I love that stuff. So that's Townsfolk Tussle at 22. And rounding out the top 21 is Inish from Matago. Now this is part of a trilogy of games. And I think that this one is a brilliant example of a dudes on a map area control game that will challenge you. Make sure I got it right set up. Which will challenge you, if you're used to those type of games, to play it in a sense that is not normally how you would play it. You can't go around in Inish destroying your opponent's troops, because you are going to need those troops to gain victory points later in the game as you try to become the leader of the land. The real brilliant thing about Inish that I love is the drafting portion of this game. You're going to have a deck of cards that players are going to pass around and draft each turn. And as you take these cards, these are going to be the same cards each round that you're drafting. And so you'll have a good sense of what's in the pool, what's available, and what's coming around. And you can kind of get an idea of what people are kind of drafting, what strategies they may be going for based on the cards you're seeing and not seeing as they come back. I love that aspect. It's a really tight system, very, very fun. There's also another deck of, like, I think Epic Tales that I also love playing. It's just more powerful abilities and powers that you get to play with. And Inish is definitely a game I want to play more. I have to convince my game group to say, hey guys, let's play some more Inish. I love this game. I would love to get the expansion for this one. I haven't picked up the expansion yet to add more content to the game. But even by itself with the base game, it's a brilliant game. Let me get some coffee here. So that's it. That wraps up the top 20-ish, I guess the top 30 to 20 games of all time, starting since 2023. So finalizing back off, we had Beyond the Sun at number 30, 29, Lord of the Rings, the card game, 28 was Moonrakers, 27 was Eclipse, 26 is Viticulture with the Tuscany expansion, 25 was Aeon's End, 24, Company of Heroes, and I should probably say second edition, but we'll wait. 23, Wingspan, 22, Townsfolk Tussle, and rounding out, 21 was Inish. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any comments or concerns, leave them in the comment section down below. I love to check them out. Let me know what you guys think of this list. Is there anything that is totally outrageous, or is there anything that should have been higher than what we've seen, especially with my top 30 or 40 or 50 games, whatever they are. Let me know where those placements are. And next video, we'll be doing the top 20, and I hope to see you guys there. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.